Alright, folks, it's my turn. It is my turn to talk about Fallout 76. And I've got a certain energy about me today, so I might just be a little bit filthy in terms of the words that come out of my mouth. And that's not necessarily because I'm going to rag on the game. Oh, I'm going to rag on the game, but that's just because I feel like putting some impact in, you know? So, I'm going to give you a moment. And make sure the kids aren't in the room, or you've clicked away from the video in case you're somebody that doesn't like cursing. But let's talk about Fallout 76. And here I am in game because I'm just going to wander around while I chat with you. So, first things first, I need you to understand right off the bat, before I get into my rant, that I fucking love this game. Okay? I think it's great fun. But I really love this game. Not based on any sort of rational thought. Okay? I love this game because I'm a Fallout fan. I love Fallout. I love this game because I love the gameplay loop. I love this shoot a thing, get some loot, shoot thing, get loot, right? I love that. I love the idea of a dystopian, broken down world that is ravaged by war and just miscontented civilization and busted idea that produces. That is what allows me to play this game. That is what has allowed me to put in tens of hours into this game, possibly even 100 hours by now. And I'm still going to keep playing this game. But I recognize very, very, very clearly that this game is fundamentally broken. This game is no good. If I was recommending this title to somebody who was new to the franchise, I would just stop myself. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't allow myself to recommend this title to anyone. Nor really any other Bethesda game by this point. Maybe all the way back in Morrowind, maybe Oblivion. But the thing is, it's not just the engine. It's not just the fact that some of the art assets are reused and recycled and the gunplay sucks. And the gunplay is a hell of a lot better than it used to be, trust me. It's not that there isn't any human NPCs or dialogue to be had or anything like that. It's everything lumped together. Every little mistake that has been made in the creation of this game makes it a fucking disaster. It makes it so bad that I wouldn't dare recommend it to anyone that didn't go into this expecting it to be broken. You have to be real diehard like me in order to enjoy something like this. There was a time where I was considering, hey, if this game's good, maybe I'll throw it up on the Rorax community server when private servers come along. I can't recommend that even now. Even for some silly fun around the wasteland with some friends, I can't recommend that at all. There's just problem after problem. Now let me get into the actual problems, right? For a start, look at this. This is like 720p. Textures may be worse. Like, they're not even... So the thing is, right? the way that graphics have advanced, they've advanced in such a way that you can progressively recreate textures on the fly in order to at least produce the semblance of a higher res texture if your artists haven't created one. But the engine's not capable of that. Nothing about the engine is capable of that sort of advanced kind of thing. You've got mismatched texture resolutions going on. Like this, although it's hard to tell, is higher resolution than this. So they don't even have a consistency in terms of texture resolution. This TV is higher resolution than everything else. This couch is higher resolution than everything else, right? Like, no one sat down and told the art department they can't go home until these things are corrected, right? They're still using extremely old school bump mapping to do a lot of the depth work on their textures. And we're only just touching the surface here, literally, just the surface. Like, just a little extra detail in this, yeah? It's a rusted out husk, but a rusted out husk is going to have a panel and things like that. And look, there's texture seams on some of these models which have been here since Fallout 4. Okay? Like, why? Just why? Why? Why is this? Why are these jaggy? There's no reason for them to be jaggy, other than the fact that they haven't gone through and spent the time and money on their... No, thank you. Spent the time and money on their staff to get their staff to update these things and bring them up to a level which is of a quality which could be expected of a game like this. And that shows through everything. Let's get into some game mechanic stuff, right? I shoot this gun, right? I'm shooting this gun. Now it's on 0 bullets. Here's the thing. If this was a proper shooter, I should have some way to force myself to reload the entire magazine when requested. The user should have power. Always the user should have power, right? So if I want to reload this thing and I'm in the middle of firing, I'm tapping R right now, and I've only just started to reload the gun. And that's because it's finished the reload animation. Because their system is such that it's tied to the animations of the things that you're using, which is such an old school way of doing things, right? Like, your animations dictate how things, the speed at which things play. You can speed up those animations, but you can't stop them. So I'm trying to reload, and I won't reload until now. And even then, for some reason, I put the gun down and picked it back up again. And that's because my multiple inputs were registered as a hold. Because they've gone and done that, which is tying two different functions to the same key. Which isn't bad, but it's real bad when they conflict with each other. Because why would you ever want to put the gun down in the middle of battle when you're really trying to reload? Right? Another thing they've done, I don't have one of these guns to show, is they obviously learned from some of their things, but they didn't ever go back to go over them again. In other areas where it's the same problem but still broken. For example, there's a pump action shotgun in this game. If you shoot a bullet, you can reload that bullet. If you shoot 2 bullets, you'll reload those 2 bullets. 3, 4, doesn't matter. You'll reload as many bullets, or shells, I'm sorry, as you have used. There's also a lever action rifle, which has been in Bethesda titles since Fallout 4. It's been in since the Far Harbor DLC. The lever action rifle reloads its entire clip every time you reload. Shoot one bullet, plays the animation for the entire clip being reloaded. Shoot 2 bullets, entire clip animation. Okay? That still exists in Fallout 76. The people who fixed the pump action shotgun, or did the pump action shotgun correctly from the beginning, didn't inform or didn't go back and do the lever action rifle. Like, why? Your game, there's not that many new assets in this game. And mechanically that problem exists everywhere. One of the big problems I have, personally, is if I want to use my unarmed stuff, let's unequip that so I can. Because there is no key to de-equip things, right? If I take out my gun and then lower my weapon, it's not like I can now punch, I just get the weapon back out. I actually have to unequip the weapon before I can punch again. And I can't unequip using the hotkey either. If I press 2, you don't put the rifle away. So again, inconsistency. Anyway, that stuff about letting the user have control over what they're doing is seen so much when it comes to unarmed stuff. If I'm punching and I'm in the middle of a punch animation, I can't actually put my guard up in time, right? The animation has to finish. And it's not so bad right now because I'm not actually using an unarmed weapon, but some unarmed weapons take a long time to swing, right? And so if you need to block an attack, you're screwed. The other thing is, this unarmed animation has to play out. I can't punch until the unarmed animation finishes. If I'm using an unarmed thing. What I seem to be seeing here, and I'm discovering this along with you, is I am actually able to cancel the defense, but it's only working for no unarmed weapon. I can't do this with the mole miner's gloves. I can't do this with the boxing gloves. I can't do this with the knuckles, right? Like, the animations have to finish on all of that stuff before I'm allowed to interrupt it. That also happens. I don't know why. I didn't hit the scroll wheel, I didn't press F, but sometimes that comes up. People saw that happen to me on live stream as well. And now I'm not responding to primary click for attacking. My character's not attacking right now, and I am furiously clicking primary. There we go, I fixed it by using defend. So something got stuck, probably the animation system, because that seems to be what gets stuck all the time. This is all, like, I'm going on and banging on about this a lot because I'm trying to point something out. I'm trying to point out that Bethesda have not polished the things that are fundamentally broken in their engine for a long, long time. They'll introduce new systems, like Todd Howard will be like, oh, we've got this new amazing lighting engine, and the lighting, it's alright, it's not amazing. It has some God rays now, like that, you know? The God rays are okay, I guess. But the God rays also go through the ground, we'll just ignore that. But you haven't gone back and got your team and paid them the money and given them the time to fix all the bugs that already exist in the system. And this is why so many people are grumpy that they haven't created a new engine for Fallout 76. Some developers, I've worked in development myself, right? So, speaking as somebody who's worked in development, for all those who are going to stand up and say, aha, but you don't know, I do, actually. And it's frustrating. And you tell the heads of department these things, and they just do not listen, and I imagine that's what's been happening for years at Bethesda. Because how could it not be? Anyway, to the point. Some people go, oh, you don't know what an engine is if you think they need a new engine. oh, an engine develops over time. Correct. An engine does develop over time. But the engine that is created on day one is an engine fit for a purpose. It's fit for a particular purpose. And the annoying thing about the engine that was developed and is used since Morrowind, because I've also heard other people say, oh, the creation engine, it's a whole new engine. No. It's a retrofitting of the Gamebryo engine released in 2002 along with Morrowind. Okay, well, obviously they had access to Gamebryo before the release of Morrowind, but that's not the point. Same engine as Morrowind. Or rather, it's the engine that was developed, that was used in Morrowind. That's creation. That's what's used in Fallout 4. There are bugs that exist in Morrowind that still exist today. That's why it's the same engine. There's the Boat of Theseus philosophy argument, which talks about the fact that at what point, when you are replacing the parts of a boat, does the boat become a new boat? If you replace every single part of the boat, is that boat a new boat? I would argue yes it is, if you replace every single part. But Bethesda have not even got to the point of replacing every single part yet. There are still boats. Sorry, there are still parts of the old boat in this boat. And those parts are showing. Because an engine is fit for purpose. The Gamebryo engine specifically was a jack-of-all-trades engine. Its entire purpose is the same kind of purpose that Unity had, or the same kind of purpose that the Unreal development... we up to 4 or 5? I can't remember. The latest Unreal engine, or the Cry engine, right? Those engines are not specifically made for first-person shooters. Those engines are created to support a large gamut of possibilities. The problem with that is that's their purpose. They don't have a specific purpose, so they can't actually, or in their original development, they don't have the very specified necessities of what the engine that you ought to be using is. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine if that's what you want your engine to be capable of. If you don't want your engine, if you want your engine to have playable first-person shooting, there we go. If you want your game to have playable first-person shooting, but not the best, right? Then that's kind of good. If you want your engine to have pretty good graphics, or capable right from the bottom, pretty good graphics, but not the best, not fit for purpose, right? Just doable. If you want your game to have reasonable physics, but not the most amazing, that's fine. That's the thing, that's the jack-of-all-trades engine's whole deal, is that that engine can then go off and do other things. The problem is, and here's the inherent problem, Bethesda don't make any other games with the Gamebryo engine. Every engine every game they've ever made with this thing has been a first-person experience. It's been a first-person RPG experience from the single-player perspective. So where am I going with this? The engine has a few things wrong with it. It has guts that they don't need. Mostly, I would say by now they're probably ripped out. The stuff they don't need is gone. But also, the stuff that does still exist, they have to retroactively replace in order to make the engine fit for purpose. They can't just go slap and have their new lighting engine work. The lighting engine has to communicate with the rest of the engine, right? But in order to do that, it's like having, I don't know if any of you have had an extension, but then you've put another extension on your extension in order to get your USB to plug into an RCA or something like that, right? Or like, you've gone overseas and your American plug doesn't work in a New Zealand socket, and so you need something in between. That's what it's like getting a lighting engine to function on the bedrock of the old engine. And that creates spaghetti code and confusing stuff, which stops the developers actually having a full knowledge and breadth of the thing that they're working with. The monster becomes so unknowable from its sheer age, size, and age and size. There you go. Age, size, and there's more nouns and adverbs and whatnot I could use. I just can't think of them right now. But holy shit. I heard someone today who claims to be a developer, who claims to have worked with certain companies, and they said, but it's hard to create, or it's hard to create a new game. Don't you understand? Bethesda had to uncouple the first player experience from their engine so that multiple players could run around in the same world. Some of you probably on the surface level would think, oh yeah, that sucks. That would be a lot of work, huh? Yeah, it is a lot of work, and it's a lot of work that didn't need to happen. And I'll tell you why that didn't need to happen. Because if they had made an engine fit for purpose, then they would have never had that problem in the first place, because when they were designing the fucking thing, they would have realised they would need multiple people to be able to share the same goddamn world. You wouldn't have to spend hours, on days, on months ripping out old, stupid code which forced the entire game experience to single on one player. You wouldn't need that. Not even slightly. That is wasted development hours. And so other people have said that, oh, they're just preparing the engine for Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. I'm sorry, but the consumers are not your fucking guinea pigs. Fallout 76, if it's an experiment, it should be free to play, and they should say that it's an experiment. And they should own up to the fact that they have no goddamn clue what they're doing when it comes to multiplayer. Make a new engine. Yes, it's going to take 15 years, but if you had started a new engine when you were creating Skyrim, with the intention of multiplayer, with the intention of single player, with the intention of RPG, with the intention of excellent low-level and high-level development tools, then this wouldn't be a problem. We would have Fallout 76 in 4 more years on a new engine, one fit for purpose. I'd wait that long. I'm sure a lot of you would wait that long. If Starfield was going to be on that engine, if Elder Scrolls 6 was going to be on that engine is now fit for purpose. There's a lot of things that happen in company software development that happens time and time and time again, and this fits the same story, which is that enterprise software, that's the kind of thing in call centers and whatnot, that the people who are in the call centers use that software in order to access accounts and change things in people's accounts and things for their telephone bills and their power bills and their whatnot, right? Enterprise software. And that goes for more complicated jobs, but that's a good enough example so far. A lot of companies, sometimes they get offered new tech that they can use, new software that they can use, right? And this software blows the old software out of the water. in terms of functionality, in terms of efficiency, in terms of everything like that. It's so much better than the stuff they've been using. But the false idea that the people in charge with the money have is if they buy this new software, then they are going to have to retrain all their staff to use it. And that's exactly the same excuse that Todd Howard has made for Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. That's exactly the same excuse. The problem is, every single time, without fail, that is objectively incorrect. If you take the time and you spend the money to bring your staff up to level with the new software, your efficiency compared to the old software is going to blow the old software out of the water. It's a risk-averse problem that a lot of these companies have. And I feel like this has happened internally to Bethesda, which is hilarious because as a software company, they should be aware of that problem. And they should be aware of falling into that trap themselves. But they don't seem to be. And so you end up with Fallout 76, which I deeply love. I deeply love the fact that I can run around and shoot some dudes and get some loot and roleplay as a heavy science character. This character called Buster Betty, who her entire identity is being a smart, strong lady. And she's not even high enough level to use the weapons she would like to use. So she's using sniper rifles and shotguns. That's an experience I can withstand doing because I'm aware of all the shit that I expect to see in a Bethesda title by this point. And I don't forgive Bethesda for that stuff, by the way. I do not say that I got my money's worth for buying this. Never. What I do say is I'm a very specific use case which is willing to play a broken game. And I'm willing to play a broken game just like GC Cox is willing to play through Road to Hell Retribution, right? Or somebody's willing to play Big Rigs Over the Road Racing or umpteen other broken games. I get a certain perverse enjoyment out of playing a broken experience, but then also being able to experience the Fallout universe. But that should not be what everyone has to do. Everyone should not have to be a clone of me in order to enjoy a Fallout game. Am I entitled to a Fallout game? No. I am not entitled to the experience of having a Fallout game to play. Bethesda could shut down the Fallout franchise tomorrow and I'd have to deal with it. It's just the way it is. But they decided to bring out a product and sell it as something which is complete and sell it as something which they plan on having a long-term development cycle for, but it's fundamentally broken. And if you plan on fixing the fundamentals, you haven't released a finished game. That's not a finished game if you have fundamental things broken. That's I have a year of development at least left. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to fix this. And the reason I'm saying it's not impossible to fix this is because Final Fantasy XIV exists. 14? Yeah, I think it's 14. The online one. Final Fantasy XIV, I'm going to keep saying it's 14, it might be a different number, but that's the number that's in my head. Final Fantasy XIV, when it was first released, was similar to this, in that it was a shit game. It was broken, it was bad, and it showed. People left it in droves. It wasn't acceptable. People were upset about the money they spent, yada yada yada. But the thing is, one brave developer, Yoshi P, went to his Sony executives and he said, listen, dickwads. Pretty sure he didn't say it this way. Like, I'm pretty sure he wasn't aggressive about it. I'm sure he was very tactful. But in my head, he said, listen, dickwads, your game's broken. I have the passion and drive to fix this thing. You give me the money and time, and I will fix this thing, and I'll make it the best MMO Sony has ever released. And he did. Final Fantasy XIV is now fucking fantastic. But it doesn't resemble the original Final Fantasy XIV. There's some similarities, but they're all in terms of things like lore and art, right? Mechanically, the games are so different. The graphics are better, the gameplay is better, the game runs better, because the time and money was invested on making up for their mistake. And they put somebody in charge who was willing to do it. So I'm not saying that Fallout 76 can never be better. But that is one hell of a person to do what Yoshi P did. To convince his execs, who then have to convince the shareholders. This is the right idea. That's a hell of a man. And I wonder whether that's even possible in Western culture. Because I don't think Western shareholders feel the same kind of thing. They just want to see the dollary dues. They don't care about long-term success. Final Fantasy XIV is now the second biggest MMO in the world next to World of Warcraft. And World of Warcraft is only the first because it has tenure. If Final Fantasy XIV in its current state had come out before World of Warcraft, the numbers would be different. They'd be flipped. And they'd be flipped for a very good reason. So, can Bethesda fix this? Yes. Are they likely to fix this? Because of the history of Bethesda, all the way back to Skyrim, all the way back to even Oblivion? I don't think so. Fallout 3 even. I don't think so. The games have always had a level of polish in them which sucked. They don't polish. The last time I think there was any polish in their games was back with, back before they even worked with 3D. I think by the time they got to Morrowind, they were just so burnt out on this engine that no one understood that they didn't bother to fix a lot of the bugs that existed in it. Like the potion duping, or the stat duping using potions, rather, or anything like that, you know? They still have that kind of thing. So the way that the potion duping works is that, like, you'd have a certain, I can't even remember properly, it was something to do with potions and spells, and you'd do it over and over again, and eventually you'd have infinite run speed. But that exists today in terms of the maths of the game, where if I had a piece of pocketed armor, I wish one of these was pocketed so I could show you. And I unequipped and re-equipped and unequipped and re-equipped and unequipped and re-equipped that armor. This number here of the amount of weight I'm carrying would decrease and decrease and decrease. Every time I took that armor off and put it back on, that number would decrease and decrease and decrease and decrease. Because they never bothered to fix it. They never bothered to fix it. Since 2002. So, where do I fall? I mean, look, I've just been playing for a little bit, and this is here, and I suppose I can knock it out, and now it's fallen through the ground. So where do I fit on the way, on the scale of the reviews and things for Fallout 76? I think Bethesda need to pull their thumb out of their fucking butt. They need to, no, not just their thumb, their head. They need to pull their head out of their ass. The whole thing. It's all the way up there right now. They need to pull their head out of their ass and put in some serious time and money into their games. Because they're going to lose a lot of faith. And I'm someone who plays this. I'm someone who is going to continue to play this, regardless of how buggy it is. Alright? I like this game. But I'm not the usual suspect. And nor should I be. No one should have the attitude that I do in terms of enjoying this game. So that's where I sit. This game is trash garbage. And I really hope they do fix things. I really do. I really do hope that they pull a Yoshi P and fix this. Because this would be a fantastic experience. But they need to drop this idea that they can constantly retrofit this old shit heap of an engine they're using. They can't. They can't keep getting away with it. They're not getting away with it. Fallout 76 is proof that they're not getting away with it. Fallout 4 had a bad reception because of the engine. So they weren't getting away with it then, but they thought they had enough goodwill to get away with it for Fallout 76. And now they expect to use it in Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, and they like, promise, oh, we promise it's going to be different. You promised it was going to be different in Skyrim. You promised it was going to be different in Fallout 4. You even promised it was going to be different in Fallout 3. It wasn't. Not enough. So pull your head out of your ass, pay your employees properly, and spend the required amount of time, or else you're going to lose everyone. Anyway, thank you for listening to me rant. I hope you enjoy me ranting. I think this is the first time I've actually sat down and had a proper rant about something on the channel. So I hope you enjoyed. Because I often have discussions but never rants. I rant on live streams sometimes, but never to this degree. Anyway, I hope you understand my point of view. You don't have to agree with me. But that's my point of view. So, catch y'all later.